Hello everyone, welcome to the Ginger Snaps here. My name is Steven, and today I'm doing the second video of my series review. The last time I was here, which was, a grueling 2 months ago, we did the very first Friday the 13th, which came out in 1980. So it's only fitting that we do our next one as Friday the 13th Part 2, which came out a year later in 1981. With the success of the very first Friday the 13th, of course, Paramount got, a little greedy for money and decided they were going to just hop to a sequel. And what was going to happen with this sequel? I mean, were we going to have a new killer? Obviously, possibly, because, at the end of the first film, Pamela Voorhees was killed in the movie, and her dead son, Jason, rose from the water. Yeah, so they decided they're going to do a sequel to that. So anywho, before I talk about this movie, I'm going to just give you guys a nice little heads up. Spoilers. I'm spoiling the whole entire movie. So if you haven't seen the Friday the 13th franchise, let alone the movie we're talking about, stop the video now, go watch it, and come back and watch this video. Okay? You've been fucking warned. Okay, so anywho, it starts off like 5 years later, and Alice is living alone somewhere. I don't really quite know where, but she is having some night terrors. And those night terrors are obviously from the traumatic events that happened on that Friday the 13th. And, we see, before we are introduced to Alice again, we see that someone is coming up to the house. And it's got that ominous music playing. The strings are being played here. Someone walking towards the house. You got the standard. It has something to do with Pamela, or maybe it's Jason. We don't quite know. But she is having a nightmare, and obviously she has night terrors all the time. I do have to say, you sound more like you're having sex, because you're moaning more than groaning. Anywho, cut this short, it was very nice to see Adrienne King come back and reprise her role as Alice, even though she did suffer a traumatic event in real life where she actually had a stalker. All jokes aside on that does suck. It's very traumatic for some people who do have stalkers out there, who did have stalkers out there, and for her to go through that kind of ordeal must have really sucked. So it really explains what I'm about to say next. She is then walking around her house, the standard, horror movie cliche. A cat jumps out of the window here, a sound there. And she opens her fridge, and there's a head in there. And it's Pamela Voorhees' head. And she gets killed. Maybe within the first 10 minutes of the film. So the only recurring character from the first film to survive that Friday the 13th dies. Okay. Anywho, we cut to a town where obviously Camp Crystal Lake is, and obviously, like I said, 5 years later, and this I will have to touch up on later on when I do more of these reviews, because the timeline for this franchise is fucked. Anywho, so there's a couple of camp counselors coming here, teenagers. They're going to a campground, but it's not Camp Crystal Lake. It is a different campground, which I'm getting the impression that it's a campground where camp counselors go to get taught how to be a camp counselor. I could be mistaken on that, but it seemed like there was a ton of camp counselors. And it didn't really look like an actual camp. But Camp Crystal Lake has been closed down. It's been condemned. There's no trespassing in it whatsoever. And the camp counselors are told you cannot go there. I do like the setup to our new lead in this movie, which is Jenny, and she's one of the more beloved final girls in the Friday the 13th franchise, and she's very wholesome. She's very girl next door, and she's kind of got like an attitude to her. She's kind of spunky, and I kind of liked her. Out of all the final girls I've seen in the whole Friday the 13th franchise, I did like her a lot. She's on my top 3 on here. Later on, we are introduced to a lot of the other camp counselors. where it's very obvious there's stereotypes in this. We have the one who's in a wheelchair. We got the perverted guy. We got the hot chicks left, right, and center. We got the stoners, the drunks, whatever. It's the cliche that Friday the 13th decided they're going to just really amp up on this. Next thing you know, we are seeing people getting killed left, right, and center. I do have to go back to when Adrienne King's character Alice gets killed, because this is a big debate and it's pretty much something that needs to be talked about. I will talk about it a little bit further, or after I'm done with the review of the movie, to give you my thoughts and whatever, but it's one of those things that's a very glaring flaw. Anywho, we have a killer who is killing all these kids left, right, and center all around the place, and Ginny is pretty much stuck with Paul, and we're trying to figure out who the hell is this person killing people, and we find out it's some guy wearing a potato sack on his head who is killing people left, right, and center. Hell, he's doing double penetrations in a bed where, two people are having sex, putting a machete through a guy's fucking skull, sending that guy backwards down the stairs, the guy in the wheelchair. And then you come to realize that this is Jason. This is Jason's full-fledged movie debut as a main character. So, there you go, Jason. Kudos to you on that one. It's just, you kind of look a little different, which I'll get to. Anywho, so, we find out that Jason has been living in the woods this whole time for the last 5 years. A lot of people have caused the debate on, was Jason really dead this whole fucking time? Maybe he's washed ashore when he was drowning and survived and lived as a hermit practically. I couldn't really say that. I mean, that's a good theory, but I mean, and then of course, people saying he saw his mom get killed that night. That's why it's revenge, it's everything that he was taught by his mother and respected by his mother and loved by his mother was taken away from him. So now he has to punish anyone who ever comes to the camp. So anyways, Jason himself, he is getting, beat senseless in this movie, but not as bad as a film we will be talking about later on. Jason is discovered that he has like a little homemade shack in the middle of the woods, which Jenny, escapes from, or escapes to, and finds the beheaded, his mom beheaded, her head on the table, surrounded by candles and like 2 dead bodies, whatever. And she does a mind trick on him. Like, it's very much established that Jason had mental problems. He was a mongoloid, and she puts her sweater on to confuse him. And I thought that was actually pretty smart. Even when I was a kid watching that, I was like, okay, yeah, I confused him. Okay. Because he believed his mom was alive, I guess, at that moment. He hears her voice in his head. But of course, he gets, one-upped and, is presumed dead until the ending of the movie, which, of course, is, he, pops out another jump scare to end the movie, which has probably one of the dumbest endings of the movie, where was she sleeping that whole time, and she's, shouting, "Where's Paul? Paul, where are you?" No one knows whatever happened to Paul. It's pretty much like upended, where we kind of just assume, yeah, he's dead, but I mean, it's never been established in the whole lore that he died. But other than that, that's pretty much how Paramount ended Friday the 13th Part 2 in this. So there's my little quick wrap up. I did notice that the very first Friday the 13th review I did was very long, and I'm going to try and make these shorter. Just go from beginning, middle, and just describe everything. This franchise is very fucking simple for that. I will point out the things that I liked about the movie. The kills were very inventive in this one. Carnage candy in a way. More blood, more guts, more gore. You're going to please the audience, especially in the 1980s. We have an established villain now, which is Jason. His look really looked good in this movie. I mean, without the sack. I mean, a lot of people who know who Jason is and has not seen a Friday the 13th movie. I know my two roommates, they haven't seen a Friday the 13th movie, and they saw the first two, and they saw the first one, they didn't like it, and then they saw the second one, they didn't like it, and I'm like, well, did you watch the third one? They're like, no. I'm like, that's the established Jason right there. That's when he gets his fucking hockey mask. But I mean, the sack, it was a pretty cool idea, whatever. But I mean, listening from the actor himself, describing that he had to wear double-sided tape around his eye so that the eye hole he actually see, because how many times he was running and the bag just kept flopping, and he developed burns on his eye. That sucks. Like I said, Jenny, one great character, especially as a final girl. I really liked her. She's, like I said, top 3 in the final girls of the Friday the 13th franchise. My flaws with the movie. Well, there's quite a bit. Like I said, it was rushed. Obviously, with Paramount, they want more money. So, of course, it's rushed. It's going to be rushed. So, a lot of things, they kind of just let it happen, and it's not explained. Like, for example, the most obvious one that the whole Friday the 13th franchise and its fans always ask the question, which is, how did Jason get a plane ticket to go see fucking Alice? How is that possible? Was she living in the same place? Or was she living somewhere else? We don't fucking know. Then, of course, the other thing that we all pretty much know of this one is, this is the movie where he kills 2 people, not 1, but 2, with a machete in the wrong way. He slits a guy's throat using the back of the machete, which is the dullest part, especially machetes back in those days. That was the dullest part. And you sliced the guy's throat open with that? Why didn't you use the sharpen? I mean, I know why, because they were probably using a real machete. But I mean, you could have fucking hit it a little bit. And then, of course, wheelchair guy, he gets the machete into the face, but it's backwards. Right across his face, like, what the shit is that? Of course, like, you can't really get attached to multiple characters in this whole entire franchise. I mean, you can get attached to Jenny and Paul, but the rest of the characters are just, this franchise is just a body count. Also, the one thing that maybe a lot of other fans probably notice is the one guy who's kind of the practical joker in this movie. He goes to the bar with a bunch of other camp counselors who are just out in the town for the last night, and he's never seen from again. Like, ever again. To the point where, like, a lot of people were kind of like, so what happened to him? Like, what's his fucking story? Like I said, movie was rushed. They kind of just let shit happen. But other than that, that was my review on Friday the 13th Part 2. I did not quite like it. As a kid, I did, because, I mean, like, it's Friday the 13th Part 2. Fuck, whatever. But when it's the whole franchise, you kind of have to, like, think about it left, right, and center about, well, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I mean, it's rushed, but it's okay. To me, it's not bad. I mean, it's still a Friday the 13th, our Halloween ripoff. But, I mean, for Part 2, was it successful? Well, yes, of course it was, because they had multiple fucking films after, which I will be getting to later on in the future, a lot quicker than I did from the first to the second. That has been my review on Friday the 13th Part 2. Thank you guys for watching. Be kind to subscribe if you guys like to watch more of my content. I don't just do horror movie reviews. I do unboxings. I do a lot of other topics. My most recent, my last video before this one, obviously, was a wrestling belt comparison, and I see the amount of views I get on that one, so I'm like, thanks guys for that one. Thank you so much. helps me out a lot to do these videos and whatnot. And yeah, I guess I will check you guys out later for sure. I will be making sure to do part 3 very soon. And other than that, this has been the Ginger Snaps here. My name is Steven. I will check you guys out later.